Thank you, everybody. And I appreciate you joining us on your early Saturday morning. You're listening to the I Am Real Estate Show with Ray Smith, Sandra Johnson, and Danielle Johnson is off with the kiddos, taking care of the kids. So he's going to be not on the show today. And today we are lucky enough to have this. You are lucky enough to have this, the two of us for the whole hour. We're going to talk a lot about real estate and a lot of things that's going on in the community and also in the real estate world. A lot of change, a lot of things that are happening. So we want to talk about those things.
It's been a while since it's been just the two of us.
Yeah.
Does that make you want to sing?
No, because I'm trying to be a good boy. We want to thank you for listening and taking some time out on your Saturday to listen to the show. A lot of information about real estate, what we're going to discuss. And I thought that me and Sandra would talk about first of all, we had a great event, or a great event we did this week. We talked about, had a chance to fly Cessna 172.
Yeah, that was fun. You know, I love going to support a lot of the charities in town, and if you check out their auctions, they have some really great experiences. I know it's been a year ago that we did the old Tucson documentary, and so they treated us to a day at old Tucson, and we were able to have our grandkids be part of the shows there. Yeah. And it's just something you can't buy, so you have to look for these opportunities to do things like that. And so this week we were able to take advantage of a flight, and we flew to Chandler and had breakfast and then flew home. You actually got to be get a little pilot experience, didn't you?
Yeah, I got almost an hour in.
How was
I'm
that?
not licensed, but I got about an hour in. It was great. It's very tiresome, but it's fun. You don't realize how much fun it is up there. It's a different world from seeing everything from up above and seeing how the world just goes by as you, like nothing's going on, but you're just having the best time up there. I want to give can we give a shout out to Jake?
Yeah, or to Jack.
Yeah, I keep calling him Jake. But I give a shout out to Jack King and also to Austin. To thank you guys for a great opportunity to be out there. The guys are awesome guys, man. If you want to go fly, you want to learn how to fly, go through those guys. Those guys are amazing.
Yeah, and honestly, they're donating their time to Right Flight too. They're not only working with students. I don't know if Jack is, but Austin doing some training. But they volunteer for Right Flight and help kids that are in grade school that want to have a flying experience, and I think it's great. It's our Rotary Club is actually sponsoring Right Flight as well.
Yeah, or if they just want to go into the world of aviation, I think it's kind of fun to go in there and see if that you're interested. They said they got two good stories of people who had no idea about aviation, went into the Right Flight, had a couple of training sessions with them, and a couple of those guys, one of them was a young kid. I think he was under 15, who already has their pilot license, and another guy was working at a job. And then we flew with those guys, and now he has his pilot license, and he's working on getting his commercial license, start flying for airlines. So the experience is amazing. I can tell you from my experience, I'm going to take some ground courses just because I thought aviation was pretty cool, and all the things he was telling me about. I like to be able to talk to him on their level, but I didn't know anything he was saying. He had to repeat everything 2 or 3 times to me.
Well, as we were flying over the city, and I'm looking down, and it's so green and so beautiful. And I'm thinking about Rigo, and I'm just like, I just want you to know it's beautiful, but those are all weeds down there because everything looked just like the ground does right now, just covered in bright green weeds. So, but it's beautiful from the air.
Well, with that being said, I wanted to talk about the fact that what you've done is that Sandra is always, we go to a lot of functions that are nonprofit organizations that are these events are there for you to bid on these silent auctions, and you have a chance to support these nonprofits. Mm-hmm. I say go out there and try it. If you haven't had a chance to go a couple of them, check out these silent auctions. There are some great things. You put your number down there, and if it wins, you win. There's some things you wouldn't normally do. I mean, honestly, I would have never flown in a plane if it wasn't for the fact that we had won that event.
Yeah, it was just a rare opportunity, and I think I sat until the last minute and went, should I do this or should I not? And we did it, and it was a great experience. Benefited the Boy Scouts, and I mean, you got to feel good about that. So
Yeah, we basically on the show we'll tell you all the different organizations that we do support, and then we want you guys to be the same way. The Tucson is a great place to be a part of. There are a lot of organizations that we can help, that helps our kids, that helps underprivileged families, that help underprivileged kids that we need our assistance. So if you can come out there and by having a silent auction, having a good event, and helping them out, it's a great thing to do. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, and we're missing Danielle today. We might as well mention she has the 10:30 show center stage and is interviewing a lot of those nonprofits and talking about the opportunities that you have in Tucson to not only just support them. Obviously, everybody's always looking for financial support, but also ways to get involved.
Yes.
And I honestly believe in my heart that, if I give my money, I want to give my time and my energy and support things that are important to me. So listen in at 10:30.
There you go, Grace.
On
She's just
Saturdays,
before us.
yeah.
Her show is just before us. Okay, now it's time to get into what the I Am Real Estate Show is all about, with the I Am standing for Integrity Matters. And we thought we'd lead off by talking about the market and the changes and what things we've noticed about what's going on so far.
I think the most obvious change right now is how much our phone is ringing.
Yes.
And
from a couple of months ago, which is amazing.
So when interest rates were coming up, and I think that we all had a little bit of sticker shock maybe, because prices have not come down, but interest rates were going up. And so January, certainly in February, we've just seen an increase in activity and phone calls coming in. We've got a lot of things that have been kind of coming soon, and you'll see those. That is actually one of the categories in multiple listing is you can go in coming soon, so that you can see properties that are coming up within the next 30 days. They're only allowed to be in there 30 days. So you can kind of get a feel for what's coming up if you're not quite ready yet. I think a lot of the people we work with are in a lease, maybe renting, and so they're not sure when is a good time to start looking. So it's always great to kind of keep your eye out for new listings, but also for the ones that are going to be coming up in the next month. And so that's what we're noticing. Just a lot of questions coming in. I think there is a little bit of volatility too, as far as, we've had some folks that have not decided, they've changed their mind.
Right.
And I think
that
that's part of it too. But overall, it's definitely an uptick in activity. And
I kind of like that, is the fact that when we sit there and go and have our listing appointments for people, we tell them that it's not about the transactions, about them. And I want this to be the thing that you want to do. I don't want to be something that you felt as though you're being pressured into it. I think that's the main thing that we want to make sure, that this is what you want to do. It has to be your decision. And we're here to guide you through that decision process. And that to me, that was the most important thing. And when people say, well, we don't want to do it, we're okay with that.
Yeah. And there are times that it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
We think a lot of times it is a great thing to do, but you have to count the costs and you have to look at what else is out there. And there are times that the best answer is, just stay on the course you're on.
But we also ask you to make sure you keep our number, so when you do decide where the one should go. And we're going to go to the break right now. And I thought when we come back to the second half or second show, we'll talk about things that when we acquire, we're going to talk about the market and the market summary. You're listening to the I Am Real Estate Show. You're here with Sandra Johnson and Ray Smith. I agree to say Sandra Smith. So Johnson and Ray Smith. You're listening to our show. We're on 1030 KVOI, The Voice. Hi, you're listening to Ray Smith and Sandra Johnson from the Johnson Smith team at Indy Realty, where we're just on the I Am Real Estate Show, where the I Am stands for Integrity Matters. And we're going to talk a little bit about the market summary and what we've noticed in the market. Go ahead, Sandra.
Yeah, so we're still looking at January's numbers, and we expect to have new information for you, hopefully on our next show.
Yeah,
we'll have Don
soon.
Geisler here, our broker, and we'll be talking with him a little bit about the market and kind of a bigger picture of what's going on. But we are seeing that our listing prices are continuing to go up. We took a little bit of a dip in December, and again, just the seasonal part of our market tends to slow down around the holidays because people don't really want to have showings and they're busy with family and things. And so we do tend to see that little bit of a dip, but we certainly took a nice little increase in January.
Yes, sure did.
And seeing those listing prices are coming up. We'd always talk about the absorption rate, and basically that's how we determine, people are always asking us, is it a buyer's market or a seller's market?
Mm-hmm.
And if we were to not sell or not take on a new listing, but we just sold the inventory that we have now, if we ran out in 6 months, that would be considered a balanced market.
Right.
And we have not seen a balanced market for some time. Right now, we're looking at, and again, this was for the month of January still, 3.3 months of inventory. And so, although it is much better than it was when we were a couple of years ago, when interest rates were really low, we were seeing 2 weeks at some point, and under a month certainly was pretty common. And so 3.3 is definitely more time on, more inventory on the market.
Sure is.
But still favoring the sellers.
Hey, when you say that, Sandra, I was looking at an article we got from Nova Home Loans, and it was talking about existing home inventory. And the thing that it said that I was pretty impressed with is tight supply is going to remain a reality for some time. Many homeowners with low-rate mortgages are holding on to their properties. And that's something you have to think about. And the reason why a lot of people aren't selling, because if they go into and sell their house, they got to buy another one. They're going to buy one at a higher rate. But the rate they're in is just so low that it's hard to make that decision where I need to sell.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we talk about the difference between a want and a need.
Yes. Yeah,
and so for a lot of people, they would like to move, but they don't need to move. And so there are certainly a certain portion of our population that's looking at those really nice interest rates of 3, maybe a little above, maybe a little below, and saying, it'd be really tough to move right now. Just because I've got a really good thing going here, even though the house may not fit their needs the same way that it did when they bought the house.
Yeah, coming around to buyers also, Sandra. And another thing we found out with the Nova Home Loans Market Watch is about the fact is that the prices are increasing rose by 0.1% from November to December, and it doesn't seem to be going down; it seems to be going up. So that's something we have to remind the buyers that I know that the sellers aren't willing to sell their homes, but if you're wanting to get into the market and get a part of that piece of the pie, you have to understand that the rate may not go down as quick as you think it is, but the prices they're going up. They're going to keep going up. They're not going down.
Yeah, and we've talked about it a lot, especially with John Spur with Inspired Life Mortgage when he's with us. That if you're renting, you're paying 100% interest. Right. And so if you're in a situation where you're looking at, do I rent, do I buy, we're always going to recommend, looking at what can I afford for the payment that I'm paying now. Because if you're paying even $2,000 a month, that's $24,000 over a year's time. And so not only do you have an increase in the housing costs, right, but you also are spending all that money on rent that could have gone towards the purchase. And so it's always worth evaluating and looking at and seeing what's available and seeing if there is something that fits your budget, but that also helps you become a homeowner if you're currently a renter.
Yeah, I like what you just said, and the things that kind of make me exciting and trying to remind people that this market is not about, we're not about clickbait. We're about finding out what's really going on. And just one of the things from Cork Logic, Chief Economist Dr. Selma Help also noted that home prices will continue to extend to new heights entering a typically busy spring home buying season. And one thing what that brings up with me, Sandra, that you've always brought up is that if you wait till the summertime to go into the market, you're competing with everybody. So the prices are normally going to go up, where you normally can probably get something at not at price, or maybe at price or just a little bit over. If everybody's going for the same home, now there's a competition. So now you're going to be paying a little bit higher. You may be paying a little bit higher.
Sure. If we saw a huge drop in interest rates, we're going to see more pressure on the inventory that we have. So sometimes it's better. Again, we always hear you date the rate and marry the house, because it's easier to get into the right property when there is a little bit less competition. When we look at the sold to list ratio, houses are still on On average, running 96 to 97.5% of asking price.
And could you explain that to him, Sandra?
Well, there's going to be some properties that are not going to hit asking price at all, and there are some that are going to do better than that. But for a while, we were hitting 100% of asking price, or just over 100% when we were in a really competitive market.
It was at 110%, I remember at one point.
Yes, yeah.
And remember, that's the average, guys. That was the average.
Yeah.
110%. You
So
were always going to pay
some
over.
will go above, some below, but we're very close to being at the asking price right now. And then with the we talked about the absorption rate and how many months of inventory we have. Days on market are sitting at about 48 days on market. So there was a time when we would tell people, we're going to put your house on the market on Friday. We're going to bring you all your offers on Monday. And that still can happen.
Right.
But it's not going to be every house. And it's not going to be like a majority of the houses. There's still a lot of competition out there. But it really depends on your home, if it's priced at the right price for the house, and then the condition of the home.
Those are two big factors that makes a big difference when it comes to trying to get it off the market as soon as you put it on the market. How you present it to the buyers is really important. And that's another thing that we do, I think we do well, is that we make sure that we have a photographer who is a licensed photographer, a professional photographer. We also have someone taking the floor plans to give the customer, before he gets in the door, the buyer, before he gets in the door, a chance to look at what you're offering, and then they can ask the questions when they get in the house instead of not being.
We want to make the list. I mean, that's
Yes.
the first step, really, is you want to make the list. And if we don't put our time and energy into helping get that house marketed properly, we're not going to make the list. And we just recognize that is the first step. And that's another thing that, we try to kind of walk our clients through, is getting them prepared for that.
Yeah, and I thought we'll try to get to it right now, and we'll talk about it after the break. Is what's the first thing you think that when you acquire an agent, what kind of questions you need to ask, or what are things you need to do first? And I have a couple of lists. I'm going to go with Sandra. One of them is you got to get them to sign the agreement. Sign their listing agreement that's telling us what so you understand where we're coming from, what our percentages mean, how we're going to market your house. Those are really important things to know about before we move forward.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, yeah, we're going to break right now. You're listening to the I Am Real Estate Show with Ray Smith and Sandra Johnson with the Johnson Smith team at Indy Realty. Get back to the I Am Real Estate Show with Ray Smith and Sandra Johnson, and I want to continue our conversation when talking about some of the things that sellers need to think about, the first steps when putting your house on the market. And we talked about the listing agreement and how important it is to understand the certain things in it. And I thought about the fiduciary duties and dual agency representation, because those are things they don't hear about. You don't hear about it in the market. You want to elaborate on those two things real quick? I put on the spot, everybody.
Way to put me on the spot. Yeah. Well, it is something that there are agents that elect not to do dual agency or limited representation, but there are a lot of agents that will do that. And matter of fact, if you look at your listing, sometimes you'll see a note on the listing sheet that says it's a variable rate. That just means that if your agent is representing both the buyer and seller, that there is a little bit of a break for the commissions on it, just for full transparency to buyers that may be looking at that property.
And dual agency is what?
It means that the broker, not necessarily your agent, your listing agent, but your broker is representing both the buyer and the seller. And we do have some limited representation that comes with that, because we can't, for example, provide full disclosure and confidentiality to both parties. And so there are some limited representations there that you just need to be aware of and understand, and it's really up to a seller if they're comfortable with that or not.
Yeah, and way I'd like to explain is that, everybody knows Don Geis from Indy Realty is our designated broker and CEO of Indy Realty. And so he's a broker. And if Sandra and I have a listing that we're trying to sell, and the person who's bringing a buyer is also in the same brokerage that we are in, that's when we have dual agency, because Don, over top of it, is as the designated broker, we both work for him. So therefore, when we talk about disclosing information, you may overhear things like that. That's why you don't really get the disclosure representation because of that, because we all in the same office, all work there. There's some fiduciary duties that we cannot, that we have to let you know that are limited, not that they can't do, they're just limited.
Right.
I think that's the
right.
best way to put it.
Yeah, we don't talk about the people involved or motivations, things like that. And so it's just really important to understand what that means. And, there's been a lot of conversations too about transparency in commissions. And all of that is something that is addressed when you're sitting down and doing
Yes.
a listing
Yes.
agreement. The fact that, all commissions are negotiated and a lot of the lawsuit type stuff that you've probably seen in recent months all has to do with transparency and people understanding exactly what those duties are and
Right.
understanding how compensation works. And so it's important to not just go through it. It's so easy for people now with electronic signatures to just like click on that button and
Yes.
sign. But you really need to sit down and take the time to understand what it is that you're agreeing to and understand what services are being provided to you, whether you're a buyer or a seller.
Yeah.
And before we move on, I did want to hit one other point on the market, and that is our median sales price. And so in January of 23, we were at 325,000, and our median for January 24 was 350,000. That's a 7.69% increase on that median sales price.
That's just in the month, right?
In over the year.
Over the year.
Over
Okay.
the year. Yes, that was January 23 to January 24. So not the 25% crazy gains in value that we were seeing for a while there. It's certainly much more moderately paced. But it is something that's important to kind of keep track of, especially if you're not going to stay in a home for more than a couple of years.
Right.
You want to make sure that you don't move into a home where you need to sell in 6 months, because it's very difficult to make a homeowner whole again if that's
Right.
what they're looking for, if you don't have enough time for that appreciation, or you don't. Sometimes people do that through upgrading a home. They're able to gain some appreciation through improvements.
Right.
And so it's always worth taking a look at. And we do our best to sit down and go over those things with folks when they're just trying to evaluate their situation.
Yeah, and whether you're a buyer or a seller, we feel the same way when we handle things. The first thing is, when you sign an agreement, we're going to go over step by step with the agreement and what your obligations are and what our obligations are to you. We're going to curb your expectations, make sure that you understand what we're trying to do and that we understand what it is that you're looking for. To me, that's the most important thing. And with the buyers, the thing that we emphasize is getting pre-approved so you know what your buying power is. And so those are like the top things you need to think about before you even start getting on the market. And we can talk about all the other stuff, all the detail a little bit later, but those are kind of the top things you want to make sure that you take care of, that you talk with the agent the minute you meet with them, you decide that's the person you're going to go with to buy or sell your homes.
Yeah, and it used to be in the past we didn't necessarily always have like an employment agreement that we would present to a buyer, because we felt like as a buyer, it's important that you choose to work with us. And there are times that it seemed really appropriate and necessary just to make clear our expectations. But now I think going forward with the change in the climate in real estate, that I know for our company, Indie Realty, that they want us to present all buyers with that employment agreement, whether that is good for a single home or if it's something that would apply to, you're shopping for the next 6 months, so that you have that transparency that we're talking about. And so there are those subtle changes that are coming forward. Our industry is always changing, hopefully for the better for
Yes.
consumers. I know that our Department of Real Estate is always looking for the best interest of the consumer and wanting to make sure that we have that consumer always protected, and holding real estate agents accountable throughout the process.
That the foundation is the consumer. That's
Absolutely.
That's our base. We start on the fact that we care about the consumer, and then we build on that as we move forward. With a couple of things to think about: your closing costs when you're getting the sale. What kind of things we won't have the exact numbers, but we like to make sure the things you're aware of when it comes to selling or buying a house. There are a lot of little things that we as agents will provide to you that you won't know this information if you just try to do it yourself. So we really believe that we bring a lot to the table to help you make this transaction less stressful.
Absolutely. We want to make we want to take the heavy load and try to get our clients through it as easily as possible, and do our best to fill the gaps everywhere we can.
Yeah, if you're looking to buy or sell your home, or if you have any questions concerning real estate issues, please call the Johnson Smith team at Indy Realty. Sandra can be reached at 520-850-1725. I can be reached at 520-904-7711. And Danielle can be reached at 520-373-6864. Thanks for staying with us for the last segment of the show. You're listening to the I Am Real Estate Show with Ray and Sandra. Danielle is with the kiddos, and we really appreciate you being here. We thought that we would go right into what we have on the market as far as the Johnson Smith team and what properties and listings we have.
Yeah, we actually have something that's just coming open this weekend. It went on the market earlier in the week, but is available for showing it started yesterday. So, sorry. The address is 6226 South Wheaton. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square feet. It's move-in ready. The home has newer appliances, AC, hot water heater, and owned solar. And that's an important feature.
Yes.
Yeah, we like to see those owned solar systems, because if you're purchasing a home and there's a solar lease, as a buyer, if you're financing that house, you have to be able to qualify not only for the home but for the lease as well. Yeah. And so one of our our lender has told us that they've run into a few snags sometimes with the solar leases that are at really good interest rates, because the companies are less inclined to transfer those. So it's always a big question when we have solar. We love to see an owned solar system. You get the benefit and you don't have to pay the bill.
Yeah, she's talking about John Spur of Inspired Life Mortgage.
So the community has a pool and a playground. This house is range priced from $320,000 to $335,000. It's going to be open today, actually, from 1 to 6 p.m. Danielle's going to be there. And then tomorrow it'll be open from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So that's Sunday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And you can stop by if it's not exactly what you're looking for, but you want a chance to meet part of the team. It's a really good opportunity to just pop in and introduce yourself and pick up some information about, I think Danielle carries the buyer's packet with her, so she'd have some good information to share.
Sure does.
There's also a coming soon at 6063 West Bar X Street, and that is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath manufactured home, 1,120 square feet. Who said that?
I'm not saying anything.
1,120 square feet, and that's in Tucson Estates, listed at $175,000. That is an age-restricted area, but they have a wonderful community there with a lot of benefits at their HOA. So
golfing is one, in case you guys were looking.
Yeah, if you're looking for something where you have a lot of activities to participate in, Tucson Estates and views.
Oh, God.
They have the best views, really great views. Can't say enough about the views out there. So that one is, as I said, coming soon. And then also coming soon in Menlo Park at 1354 West Placida Bronce, we have a 1,248 square foot townhouse. And that home has been just loved by the owner, and it shows. There's a really nice enclosed front patio courtyard, and there's a detached 2-car garage, and so the house itself is not touching the neighbor, but the garages are what are touching as far as the classification as a townhome. Um, the kitchen countertops and backsplash have been updated. The bathrooms have been updated. There is tile in the living room and in one bedroom. Carpet is only in 2 bedrooms, and a wood burning fireplace. The owner added a second patio so that there's one off the owner's suite. And then this has owned solar as well. So this is close to downtown, close to Mercado San Augustine. It's less than 2 miles from TCC. So if you're a hockey fan, or what else do they? Sugar Skulls play down at
Yep.
TCC. A lot of activity downtown.
Some good musicians come out there and play too, and some good
Absolutely.
comedians.
I'm trying to think of Disney on Ice. I've been
Yes.
to a lot of events there. So there's always a lot going on down around the Tucson Convention Center. 3.3 miles to the U of A. And just a really wonderful little home. And that is incoming soon and should be coming on the market here in a couple of weeks. So we do have an active listing right now at 31 East Pastime Road. It's a townhouse, kind of close to the Tucson Mall, about a mile east of there. And it is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 902 square feet. It is a single level unit and has covered parking. It's a burnt adobe territorial style, listed at $210,000, and the HOA is actually pretty reasonable as far as HOAs go. It's $145 a month, and that covers community pool and maintenance on the common areas. Your water, sewer, trash are also included, and we have that one listed and active right now. And then one more coming soon that I'm really excited to be talking about, and that is a brand new construction out at Tucson Estates number 2. And so the house is not completed yet. It's 2,286 square feet, but it's certainly getting very close to being completed. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and you have 2 owner suites that have an ensuite bathroom. So one of them is a little bit smaller, more of a guest room area, I guess, with an exterior door that leads to the backyard. And then the other owner suite has the largest bathroom and walk-in closet that I think I've seen in a long time. It's got a soaking tub and then a walk-in shower. Beautiful tile. It's I don't know if it would be fair to say it's excessive or not, but it's certainly more than I would need, and it is beautiful.
I love the great room aspect of it. When you walk in the door, it's just so loving and so forgiving, or so entertaining, so inviting.
Yes.
That when you go in there, you're going to want to be in there. And the separate bathroom, a separate bedroom, so one's on the one side,
A
one on the
split floor plan.
So
Yeah. And then you've got mountain views that are amazing, again, from the owner's suite, and then your dining area, wonderful mountain views. The Tucson Estates and Tucson Estates number 2, just the views there are beautiful. They have a lot of outdoor activities, a very active community. You'll constantly see stuff posted that they're doing, whether it's food truck type stuff or
a lot of
hikes
community
and-
things. They're all
yeah.
about their community and making sure that there's things to do outside of the clubhouse, that they're entertaining their residents as much as they can and as often as they can, which is a great thing. So you're always going to have something to do on the weekend. They have some great local restaurants that are right down the street. Have some great food down there. So it's just so much to do. And if you're an avid golfer, they have an 18-hole golf course just right there, so you don't have to go downtown to do anything.
That property is listed at 2270 South Diamond D Drive. And the upgrades there, they've got the quartz countertops, 2-tone cabinets in the kitchen, an island wine refrigerator, just a gas range. Very, very beautiful home. And it's listed at $655,000. We do have an appraisal that was done on that at the $655,000 $5,000 price point. And then the washer and dryer are going to be included, and of course your refrigerator as well. And so beautiful home, not quite ready to be shown this weekend, but we could probably in the next 7 to 10 days or so be showing that property.
Yeah, I think it's inviting. If nothing else, you can go see where it's at in the neighborhood. It gives you an idea how close you are to the clubhouse, how close you are to. You really can see how great your mountain views really are if you go by there and you say, "Oh, this is what I'm going to be looking at when I wake up." Yep, that's where you're going to be. So it give you some things you can do just for a visual thing. And like the thing about that area is there's always something going on up there anyway. So going up there to just go see the home, I'm sure they have some kind of food truck or something out there that's going on the weekend. It'll entertain you or have you doing something that you would enjoy to do, or some things you would think about doing if you wanted to move into the Tucson Estate neighborhood.
Yeah, and our prices really range from the manufactured home at $175 up to a brand new construction at $655. So we've kind of got it all. Got single family, townhouses, and so be sure and take a look at our website and the listings that we have that are active and those that are coming soon. Reminder about the open house out on Wheaton from 1 to 6 today and then 2 to 6 tomorrow. And next week we're going to have Don Geisler back as a guest, and he is the broker of Indy Realty. Looking forward to having a conversation with him.
We want to talk a little bit about some of the vendors that we work with that we will also try to tell you about. But when we recommend, we always try to give you more than one. But there are the people that we appreciate being around and who we give our work to and who we use at our own house. One of them is Rico Pest Prevention. We use him at our own home.
Get those weeds taken care of before they get too tall. I'm just telling you, they are crazy out there.
Yeah, we're seeing them from the air. So
there's a lot going on out there.
We have people who do things for a title company, Pioneer Title Agency, who handles all the documentations as far as legal documentation required when you're moving and selling a house. The other thing is that we have, I'm thinking of, Inspired Life Mortgage. We have John Sparrow, who is also one of the best lenders out here in the city. And all these people are actually local.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that's good about it is everything goes back into our community. So that being said,
we look forward to being back with you next week, and we certainly thank our sponsors that make this show possible.
Right, our sponsors are Indy Realty, Inspired Life Mortgage, Regal Pest Prevention, and Pioneer Title Agency. When you use one of our sponsors, let them know that the Johnson Smith team at Indy Realty sent you.